You're listening to Comic Reflections, episode 194. I'm your host, Nicholas Prom.
I'm Jeff Barnhart, the megalomaniacal killer robot Jefftron.
Comic Reflections is brought to you by Rhymes with Geek. You can find this show and many other cool podcasts like the all-new Anti-Fanboy, Super Podcasto Magnifico, and Ultimate Facepalm at rhymeswithgeek.com. And if you enjoy this program, please subscribe to us on either iTunes or Stitcher.
All right.
So, Jeff, you finally saw Age of Ultron this week.
Yes, I did.
What'd you think?
I had a good time. There's so much baggage with this, and everyone, all this hate, and I don't understand the hate for it, so it's kind of colored my view of it. I'm not sure what's going on.
You just gotta ignore people who just can't do anything but complain, and just enjoy the things you enjoy.
Yeah. It is sad that it's third week, and it's third place behind Pitch Perfect 2.
Blech.
So.
But Mad Max Fury Road is out, and everybody's saying it's the grooviest. I think I'm going to go see it today.
That's only number 2. So,
well. I thought it was the 4th in the series.
No.
I know, I'm just joking.
No.
Oh.
Shut up. Shut up.
Here's the thing. All the 12-year-old girls will see Pitch Perfect this weekend, and then Mad Max will come back up, in the numbers.
Yeah, I am interested in that. I love the original Mad Max movies.
I have not seen them in so long, and really, I saw them just kind of piecemeal. So, I mean, I was thinking, oh crap, do I need to watch those before? And then I heard people saying like, no, you don't need to have seen them to watch this. So, okay, I'm just going to go in and see it.
Yeah.
And then find the time to go back and watch the originals later.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think movies now you don't have to watch the one that comes before. I think you could have gone into Age of Ultron without seeing any of the Marvel movies.
Oh, I don't know. I think I would have been like, huh? Who? What? With a lot of stuff. In fact, some people are even saying like, oh, if you weren't watching Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., you missed out on some stuff. I'm like, I thought it was perfectly great, and I got bored with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Although I hear it's better now, but
I've heard that, and its ratings keep getting lower and lower.
Yeah.
But they have renewed it for a third season, so.
Oh well.
So maybe I'll binge it on Netflix someday.
Yeah.
When I get the flu or food poisoning.
Okay.
Yeah, something to look forward to there.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I can help you out.
Speaking of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we're going to talk about a character who's been on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. of late, I've heard, and it's Deathlok the Demolisher. So we're going to talk about 2 issues with Deathlok, and then 2 Avengers issues. As if there were issues of Avengers. No Avengers 2 here.
Yeah.
But although I do remember that issue of the Justice League where the Justice League weren't in it, the Justice Society were like there, because it was one of those Justice League, Justice Society team-ups, and the Justice League were captured or something.
Right.
And so the whole issue was just about the JSA.
Okay.
So, which is okay, because they're great, and they didn't have their own book at that time. So.
Cool.
But anyway, the first comic we're going to talk about today is Astonishing Tales number 34, which was the March of 1976 issue. And the story is called And All the King's Madmen Couldn't Put Deathlok Back Together Again. Or could they? Which is, I think, the longest title for any comic story that we have read.
I didn't know that was part of the title. So when I did my notes, I didn't write the whole title.
When I looked it up on comics.org, that's where I was like, oh, that is the whole title. But anyway, this story was plotted by Rich Buckler, and the script was written by Bill Mantlo. And Rich Buckler did the pencils, and Klaus Janson did the inks. So Klaus Janson, of course, very well known for inking a lot of Frank Miller's stuff, like The Punisher, Daredevil, his Batman, and Dark Knight Returns. So, but anyway, yes.
Okay. Let's see. Deathlok's on a mission. He's trying to blow up this building, I think, and the castle is like a castle. And the castle gates open. He sees this girl and a guy. And the door starts to close, so he throws the bomb in, and his arms get stuck.
Oh, yeah. So he loses his cyborg arm.
Mm-hmm.
which is very inconvenient.
Right. So he
Whenever it happens to me, I just get so frustrated.
Yeah, I know. He's rescued by... Who is this? This is,
I don't remember.
Isn't it his buddy?
I think. Oh, you know who it is? It's the clone of Luther Manning, who he is.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Sorry, I forgot. It's been a week since I read these, and I got really drunk yesterday. So.
Yeah. He's captured by the CIA, or they're trying to recruit him, and the CIA head is this chick in a scantily clad, beautiful girl.
She looks like she's about to go to Studio 54. This outfit. So, think of when this comic came out.
All right.
Oh, one thing I need to make a correction. Last week, I was saying I was under the false impression that Deathlok came out before the Punisher, and the Punisher actually debuted 6 months previous to Deathlok in an issue of Amazing Spider-Man.
What's the run? I mean, how long does it take for a comic book to go from somebody's brain to publishing?
Oh, the lead time?
Yeah.
From writing the book to getting it to the artist and to seeing print, I would think an issue is probably, if it's going to be ongoing or what have you, I think you're working on issue 2 or 3 if it's a monthly when issue 1 comes out. And I don't know because this is one that's every 60 days, so I'm not sure. That's a really good question. I wish I had the answer for that.
Yeah, so Deathlok has been sent to kill Colonel Riker.
Oh yeah,
Riker is dead. Oh my. And so that ticks off Deathlok. He finds out that Colonel Riker's brain is in the Omni computer.
Right.
So he's sent it to the Omni computer and...
Who is? Deathlok?
Deathlok.
Okay.
In order to find...
to find Riker.
Yeah, there's a bunch of arguing between that, but...
Sure.
Yeah, but I swear that the head of the CIA is pretty hot. I never thought I'd say that.
That's an interesting statement to make. It's fun.
Yeah, and true. But,
yeah.
Okay. But it's pretty cool. Nice last splash page with Riker looking insane. He's never been totally sane. He's always been kind of crazy.
Yeah, he's like the cyborg version of Thunderbolt Ross. That's the vibe I really got from him.
Yeah, but even more ruthless. Yeah,
Thunderbolt Ross, like he's not a bad guy. He's after the Hulk, and he's wrong. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is kind of one of the things that makes Ross interesting.
Right.
He's like J. Jonah Jameson as like a 5-star general or whatever, how many stars. So, but anyway, let's talk about this next issue. It's Astonishing Tales number 36, which is the July of 1976 issue, and it's the last issue of Astonishing Tales. And then Deathlok would, I think, have a 3-issue run following this in, I think, Marvel Spotlight. They'll kind of wrap up the arc.
Oh, okay.
For whatever reason, they just decided to discontinue Astonishing Tales. But anyway, the story is called, or the lead story, because there are 2, is called Confessions of a Demolished Man, written by Rich Buckler, penciled by Rich Buckler, and inked by Keith Pollard. And since the 2 stories kind of like really blend right into each other, I'll just give the title of the second one now. Same creative team. The second story is called What to Do After the Apocalypse. So, anyway.
Okay. Well, Deathlok he's gotten his body back, but there's another Deathlok, so it's kind of confusing. But,
yeah.
And then they're all... It's a little heavy.
I didn't think Deathlok got his body back. He got a new. They gave him a new cyborg arm.
No. I think that
He's talking to the Luther Manning clone.
yeah, but it seems like Luther Manning seems like he was the original.
Because he has all the memories and experiences of Luther Manning.
I'm getting mixed up because in science, a clone would have none of that.
Right,
but in
science
books,
fiction,
a clone, would have all the. So okay.
Yeah.
So but Luther Manning does remember being Deathlok though, and the clone does. So it wasn't before.
Because if the clone, let's say that the clone was given the memories at a later time once he was fully grown, they've got the computer. Deathlok's, has half his brain is the computer, so they've got all that stuff on data tapes or whatever, and they could probably add that also to the clone's memory.
Yeah, and the clone does talk to the computer inside his brain, and which is kind of so. Who knows who? So
yeah, I gotta say, the art on this is really great. Keith Pollard's inks really make this pop. It's very nice, great looking issue.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that the head of the CIA is wearing a short skirt, and she has Bride of Frankenstein here.
Yeah, I've never been crazy about updos. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh well. So the human clone is attacked by this monster, and I'm not sure who the monster is. Did they ever say?
I don't even remember. One thing about this is, it's almost like you have to read these a couple times, and I only read it once. Yeah. Because there's a lot of stuff.
So a lot of computer reading and stuff.
Yeah, and I will say, okay, that does give it like kind of replay value, which I can appreciate. But yeah,
yeah,
I'm mildly interested in going back and getting like the trade of this and reading the whole run. But so I mean, what's the
so they defeat the monster, and so. Both the clones are sad, and the Deathlok clone is trying to commit suicide. He's not allowed to.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a flashback of when remember a couple years.
Maybe?
Issues. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
A couple issues back when he tried to kill himself and couldn't. But anyway, in a way, it's also this is kind of a good jumping on point too for this character. I feel like this opening story kind of is a kind of a preamble. To this second part, which is what to do after the apocalypse.
Yeah, so
Deathlok is cruising through like the ruins of America or whatever.
Yeah, so
it looks really neat.
Yeah, it does, and he's going after some people.
Just kind of
like her.
Yeah,
he's going after her again. So he's shooting. Shooting pretty good. He's almost but he almost gets killed, and this guy comes.
And what's his name? Godwolf?
I don't understand Godwolf at all.
This is a weird character to just show up out of nowhere. I mean, he's kind of a Commandy or a Mighty Samson type, but he's also very erudite, and he talks like the dictionary.
Yeah, as I said in my notes, a combination Green Arrow and Kazar with a thesaurus. So, I didn't get that out well, but
that's all right.
Yeah. So yeah, I literally don't know what's going on in this.
Yeah. So yeah, it's weird. So he clashes with Deathlok.
In a nice way.
Yeah.
But not in the they clash philosophically.
Yes. Which is interesting. And then we got to cut back to Deathlok in a laboratory, which I'm like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So, I don't know what happens.
Yeah, it's weird. But it was a really great looking issue. Again, I think this is one of the, the way we've been surveying series like this, like we got some random issues and lots of gaps. Doesn't always work with every series. This is one of those books that's like kind of like a lot of comic books now. Like you got to start with #1 and read the whole run to like understand everything. Jonathan Hickman is a very popular writer in comics now, and it's like the guy's good, but geez, you have to, if you want, you cannot come in even an issue later on a series he's working on because you'll be totally lost.
Yeah.
And that's disappointing. It's like, I appreciate layers and complexity, but if you're so meta that nobody can understand what the heck you're doing something wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Or you're limiting your audience.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are a lot of people who are like, yeah, who is the audience for comic books these days? Men in their 30s and 40s. Okay, fine. Who've been reading comics for decades. Fine. And there should be books that cater to that audience. But there's nothing wrong with making this easy to come through, or to come into. You know, when I was coming up as a young comic book reader, I rarely got 2 issues in succession, you know, because I was not a kid who had an allowance, and I was not an enterprising young man. So, like, you got comics when you could. But what I think I loved about Marvel Comics is you always had, like, kind of a sort of a recapping kind of scene in the beginning of a book to let you know what had come immediately before, so you could just go.
My father grew up in the Depression, Charlie Barnhart, and I wish I had a tenth of his financial acumen. But what he would do would buy a comic and then trade it for 2 used ones from his friends.
Sure.
So he got to read 2 new comics to him. Did the same thing with firecrackers. He'd order firecrackers from China and would sell them at a profit, but you could only set them off in his yard. So you could see what they did.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty smart. And that's what you said about the comic books. I want to back down and talk a little bit about that. That was a common practice in the golden age of comics. Kids, they get their books and they swapped them. Right. Oh, how they swapped them. And it was great because at that time the collecting mentality hadn't set in yet. You know, we're talking the 40s and the early 50s.
I wonder who was the first collector.
That's another story.
Okay.
But the great thing is like, at that time you could be getting a handful of comics every month, but getting to read many times as many books, and getting to read a lot of what was coming out. Right. And even in, let's say, look at the Silver and Bronze Age. Say you have a reasonably good job and you're a comics fan, you can hit up the spinner racks around your town, and you could be reading just about everything that the industry's putting out every month. Yeah. You know. And you could go to because it was relatively very supermarket. Yeah.
And the newsstand.
Yeah.
Had comic books. They have some, but not nearly. You know, they have about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So mostly Archie and a couple other things, but that's about it.
Yeah. When I go to, say, Fred Meyer's, I might see on a very
supermarket.
The supermarket. Yeah, that's right, because that's a regional area. It's owned by Kroger's. On a bottom shelf in the magazine area, you will see, some Archie comics and some Bongo comics, you know, folks who put out The Simpsons. And that's it. I used to see a little bit of Dark Horse books, but not now. I think they would carry the Star Wars ones, but Star Wars, the license has gone to Marvel now. So, but even up to when I was in high school, Fred Meyer's used to have like a whole, you know, big racks of comics, and you got they had most of what Marvel and DC were putting out, plus Archie and Harvey was still around a little bit, and those Harvey comics. This is a little tangent. They went under in like 1984 or 5, and then had a brief resurgence, very brief, for like a year or two in the early 90s, and I recall that was my spinner rack time. So I had a time where Harvey comics were on the rack before they went under again. But
Harvey did Casper and all that, right?
Casper, Richie Rich, Lotta.
I enjoyed that little Casper.
Katie Keene, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed those. Those were nice.
Oh no, Katie Keene was Archie books, excuse me. But those kinds of things.
Yeah. Okay. Going back to Deathlok.
Yeah.
One of the things about the book I had trouble with is I don't care. And he's not a very. I don't care about Deathlok. His buddies, I really don't care about. Riker is not a. He's a warmed over fanatical Colonel Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well done, interesting, some good ideas there. But the characters, I don't care, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think it's a good idea, and I don't think it's a lousy book. But I think you just not if characters don't resonate with you on a personal level, you're just not going to dig it.
Right.
And is it my favorite thing? No. And is it high on my priority list to go get the trade and read the whole run? No. But there are people who love it. So
Yeah, more power to them.
yeah, and that's fine.
Okay.
So, but let's talk about the Avengers.
Yeah.
Age of Ultron came out rather recently, last couple weeks, and this issue is the last part of the second arc that Ultron has appeared in. He's had a 2 or 3 run where he menaced the Avengers before, and this is the finishing up a storyline where he's come back. And this is Avengers number 68, which is the September of 1969 issue. And the story is called And We Battle for Earth, written by Roy Thomas, penciled by Sal Buscema, and inked by Sam Granger. And Roy Thomas's run on the Avengers is probably the most celebrated. And we've got a couple of issues of his run to talk about tonight, and they're great.
Yep. Ultron is up to his usual stuff, and he's trying to destroy the world. And he pulls a switch, and it doesn't work. And it's going to initiate a nuclear holocaust.
Right. Wonder why.
Yeah, those wacky Avengers.
But the Avengers do show up to battle him. And the Avengers roster at this time is Yellow Jacket, Goliath, the Wasp, Thor, and the Vision. Goliath, of course, being Hawkeye, having taken... he gave up being Hawkeye for a while just because he wanted powers. And Hank Pym didn't want to be Giant Man anymore, so they just kind of, in a way, kind of swapped.
Now, I can understand that. If I was with Thor and Iron Man, I'd want something more than a bow and arrow.
Right. And so the stories with Clint Barton as Goliath are pretty cool. I think in the Kree-Skrull War, he was still doing the Goliath bit. If I remember correctly.
Okay. So they fight Ultron. Ultron blows them up, and of course they're not killed. Vision I think he's the one who really screwed things up for Ultron.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
The Vision is great. I
liked him too.
Oh boy, was he something else in the movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I enjoyed his character.
Wish he had like 20 minutes more of screen time, but he was great.
Right. Quicksilver didn't do too much. Let's see. Scarlet Witch, she's okay.
I've always I realize she's a classic member of the Avengers, and I've always recognized her as such, but I've never been crazy about her.
Yeah, magic I don't like as much.
Well, and it's magic because of her mutant power, so there's weird stuff going on there.
Yeah. I don't understand the magic. Well, nobody does. So it's so malleable, and so we need toast. Really bad. Oh, make some. It's there's no powers of Azeroth or whatever.
Right. At least she's not calling upon stuff. She just makes it happen.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's better or worse, but because in the comics it started out as her hex power just cause random things to go wrong or whatever. In the movie, they kind of tweaked it so she can mess with people's minds, but it's kind of a vague kind of chaotic power. So that she wields very quite adeptly in the movie.
Right.
So.
Okay. So Ultron is about to destroy the world again.
Yeah.
Okay. Vision is sick, so they try to find out what's going on, and Vision he's about to die, so they're putting in sunlight, right?
Yeah, I guess. Oh, yeah, because he absorbs solar radiation.
Mm-hmm. So he gives a clue that they got to go. Let's see, who is this guy?
Yellow Jacket.
No, the guy with the beard.
He's just a scientist for the UN
some
or
scientist. So they're gonna talk to.
something. He's Dr. McGuffin.
Yeah. So they got to talk to the United Nations. And I'm not sure why, except to put everything put the action in the United Nations.
Right. It's a good place for stuff to take place. It's very cool.
You know what the building looks like.
I've been there.
But no one really kind of the inside is not so dramatic, right? It's it's big.
I've been into that auditorium when nothing was happening.
Yeah.
And the building it's beautiful. It's designed by Frank Lloyd Wright.
Mm-hmm.
And the interior is very impressive. When you get into that bold area where, all the meeting stuff, I mean, it looks like you walked into the 1960s. Like it really is old looking.
Right.
But it's cool, but functional.
But it's not really iconic. I mean, you really, if you go to con, you show the inside of the House of Representatives.
Sure.
You know that's House of Representatives.
Sure.
UN, you can just show a guy at a podium, a bunch of chairs. Oh, that's the UN. So you know, it's not as iconic.
I kind of like it, and it makes sense for, especially in Marvel Comics, so much stuff centers around New York City, and the UN is right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the Avengers call in the Black Panther too.
Mm-hmm. They need to get vibranium, which can only come from
Wakanda. Yeah.
And that's mentioned in the movie as well.
Yes.
You don't ever see him though, right?
In the Black Panther?
Yeah.
In the movie?
Yeah.
No. We did see his enemy, Ulysses Claw, who
killed his father.
Yeah.
And has he has some kind of a necklace that's from Black Panther's father on his neck.
Right. Andy Serkis, the guy who did the motion captures for Gollum and the Lord of the Rings movies and other things. I think that's right. Yeah. He played Ulysses Claw, and we're going to see that guy in the Black Panther movie. I really hope he surfaces as Claw.
Yeah.
And Captain America, Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Baron Zemo is going to be the super villain of the piece, and I really hope Claw is a member of his Masters of Evil.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. So the Avengers. Oh, the Wasp has to get dressed. I don't have anything to wear. She wears something fetching, but so the scientist is giving a speech about how bad Ultron is. We got to get together, and then Ultron shows up.
Yeah, he bursts onto the podium. It's a great big splash page too. It's awesome.
Yeah, and he's mad. All right, so it's a great fight. So why doesn't Thor's hammer work against Ultron?
I mean, he could knock him over with it, but Ultron's body is made of adamantium. So they can't just smash it.
Yeah.
Because it's indestructible.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise it'd be super easy. Oh, he's a robot. They just break him, and then you're good to go, right?
Yeah.
So.
All right. So Ultron isn't hurt by Thor, so Goliath comes in and he smashes him with his foot because he grows up. It's just, I always like this when he grows up too high and he hits the head on the ceiling. I enjoyed that little thing. Yeah, I've always enjoyed the implications of superpowers.
Yeah, and Clint Barton as Goliath when he embiggens himself.
Perfectly prominent word.
Yeah. It's fun because Clinton Barton as a side-staging hero is really fun because of the way that character is in general. He's kind of rough and tumble kind of guy. So it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Avengers have this great fight with Ultron.
Yeah, and they're getting their butts kicked, actually.
Yeah. Even Thor.
Cool. Yeah. And that's cool. So Ultron goes to scientists and grasps him and sucks all of his knowledge out.
Yeah.
which is his downfall because it's not. Who was the scientist? The scientist was somebody else. Was one of the.
Oh, right. It was
Hank Pym, right?
in disguise. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And while he was Ultron was trying to absorb this information from the scientist, Hank Pym is thinking this very specific phrase over and over to mess with Ultron.
Mm-hmm. And that phrase is from the Bible, "Thou shalt not kill."
Right. And so it was not what Ultron expected, and so it messed up his mind, and he.
And I think that the idea is so foreign to him, it kind of blows his reasoning.
Right, because he's the ultimate killbot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and yeah, it shouldn't work, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of poetic, so I can dig on it. In the merry Marvel Comics way.
Yeah, I guess they couldn't do "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife."
Yeah, that wouldn't really work.
Yeah. Oh, but man, you'll never see that today, though.
No, probably
unless
not.
there's Christian comics. But
well, and Roy Thomas wasn't religious. He wasn't. He was just borrowing some of those tropes. I mean,
it's common culture. Is the Bible's common culture?
Well, sure. And when he created Adam Warlock, it wasn't. And Adam Warlock is the Christ figure. Okay, he started that, and then of course Jim Starlin ran with the character later. But Roy Thomas was inspired by having recently seen Jesus Christ Superstar. Again, not religious, but it was part of the pop culture zeitgeist of the time.
Right.
So,
all right.
So, going on, we've talked about the very following issue of Avengers. It's number 69, and it's the October of 1969 issue. The story is called "Let the Game Begin," written by Roy Thomas, penciled by Sal Buscema, and inked by Sam Granger. Oh. So the Avengers, which at this point includes Goliath, the Vision, Wasp, and Yellow Jacket.
Yeah. I'm going to go see Tony Stark, who's on his deathbed.
Yeah.
So, so they come there. S.H.I.E.L.D. is protecting Tony Stark, and they're trying to, talking about what's going on. And Wasp sees a toy doll underneath Tony's bed, and she says, "What is this? It's glowing." Which, if I had some comic book adventures, glowing anything would tell me something's wrong. So,
right.
But then she says, "Oh, that's nothing." So she throws it in the trash can. I guess the violence of throwing it in the trash can makes him a little bigger, so he's able to get out of there.
Yeah, it's the growing man, and anytime the growing man is struck, he grows. And of course, Thor and Captain America are also on their way to visit Tony Stark at the hospital. So the gang's all here, basically.
Yeah.
And
yeah. So all right, the growing man starts attacking the S.H.I.E.L.D. guys. S.H.I.E.L.D. guys attack him, and he gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So a pretty good fight.
Yeah. And so the Avengers start tangling with the growing man.
What do you do against a guy when you hit him? It gets bigger.
Exactly. That's a real problem.
Interesting problem.
Yeah. And Thor relates to them like, look, I fought this guy before. He's a minion of Kang's. And we read the issue, an issue where Thor fought the growing man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the growing man busts open like out of the wall of the hospital, clutching Tony Stark. And man, chaos.
Yeah. And he was saying, and I was created to do the will of Kang. And somebody says, "Wow, they're remaking King Kong." He said his name was Kong.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute.
The public, and misinformation. I think it's too perfect, actually.
Yeah.
So the Avengers keep fighting him. Goliath grows and goes after the growing man.
But he grows too much and I don't know, gets a headache.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah, and like an idiot, he attacks the growing man, think he's going to take him down. Like, duh, it's just going to keep getting bigger.
Yeah, I mean, if Thor can, if I'm in a group and Thor can't handle him, unless I have a particular weapon
Yeah.
that can take this person on, like a anti-growing man ray or something.
Yeah.
I'm not going to touch him. So, you go, boys.
Yeah, but I think this is perfect because Hawkeye, or Goliath, or whatever we want to call him now, he at least up until this point was very hot-headed and rush into the fight, and so that's very characteristic of him. So anyway, the growing man and Tony Stark gets whisked away, and the Avengers, to Kang's lair of evilness in space or something.
And yeah, so we see Kang in a really cool
double-page splash. It's great.
Nice throne room. Really neat stuff. He's got his girlfriend,
Ravonna.
Yeah, she's in
Suspended animation because she was dying from something, and so Kang is keeping her alive. But he, whatever. He messed. The whole deal is he summoned the Avengers because he wants them to be the champions in his fight against this guy, the Games Master. Is that right? Or the Grandmaster? Excuse me.
Yeah.
And the Grandmaster is cool. This is a classic thing. And what are the stakes of this game between Kang and the Grandmaster?
Okay. Kang gets sent to oblivion. He never existed.
Oh, okay.
So, but the Avengers fighting for him will not be obliterated.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of cool.
But the stakes to keep them in the game is like the Grandmaster will destroy the world too or something.
Yeah, for crying out loud. So,
yeah.
But they so they're gonna fight this Star Trek chess set, and
Yeah,
you remember that, the three.
I do, and also when I read in your notes where you saying the Star Trek, chess set, I'm like, like those kinds of games for your life to test humanity that were always happening on Star Trek.
No, I was talking about the actual chess set that Spock played.
Yeah. But anyway, the champions that are to fight against the Avengers are the Squadron Sinister, who would later be known as the Squadron Supreme. And this is their first appearance, and they are the pastiche of the Justice League. So this is the way to have the Avengers fight the JLA. And the four champions from because who are the champs from the Avengers that are selected? It's Thor, Cap,
and
Goliath.
And they're fighting against Dr. Spectrum,
who is Green Lantern, basically.
Hyperion,
who is Superman.
Oh, okay. Nighthawk, who is Batman,
right?
I guess. And the Wizard, who is the Flash.
Right. A couple things of note. Nighthawk eventually comes from that Earth to the 616, where the Marvel Universe happens, and he joins the Defenders and stuff. And it's weird that there's a speedster called the Wizard on whatever Earth the Squadron Supreme are from, because there's a Golden Age Marvel hero, the Wizard, who is their speedster too. He's friends with Cap.
And he's a good guy.
Yeah. Well, and they are good guys, actually.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. I don't know why. They're called the Squadron Sinister because they're made evil or something like that. But they are heroes on their world.
Yeah. They look very golden or silver agey here. They're really out of place.
I think it's done on purpose, though, to make them that way. And it's interesting because, Roy Thomas loves Golden Age heroes so much. And so he tries to inject a lot of those tropes or those kinds of characters into whatever he's doing. Oftentimes on books where he's doing new material with Golden Age characters. And also it's really great to, the Squadron Supreme would, they've fought the Avengers on several occasions. That initial storyline that brings them in is really cool.
Okay. This is cool. Okay. Question.
Okay.
All right. This chess set has 3 playing fields. So we see the Avengers on one. And I'm gathering that's the Squadron Sinister on the other one. Who's on the third?
I will tell you, because the fight with the Squadron Supreme ended up being kind of a draw because of other heroes interfered. Like I think it was the Black Panther or somebody. So that was messed up. And so then I think they send Cap. No, I can't remember which group of Avengers, but they end up fighting going back to like the 40s and fighting Namor, the Human Torch, and Captain America. So.
All right. Okay.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it for this edition.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we'll see you in the funny pages.